So, Samson, I heard you paid, or Blockstream paid a lot of money to buy a new sock puppet for you.
Yeah, that's true. Brand new sock puppet called Whale Panda.
Sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm. That's all you got?
I have no. So I cannot come up with it on the spot. I can, but everything's what I want to say is rude.
Yeah, as an official Blockstream shill, doesn't he have like a script that gets given to him, and he has to like stick to the script?
Exactly. Okay, let's start the show.
Magical crypto. The best thing to do is simply to hodl. What's a young pony to do in a sea of shady ICOs? A lion's courage can light up even the darkest of shadows. Unlike the corporate suits, the whale panda is wise. A chicken dreams about the moon while soaring in the skies. As Bitcoin sees new all-time highs. All around me I see big blockheads. Magical crypto. The best thing to do is simply to hodl. We'll always buy the dip, and we'll always be the best of the rest.
I did get this from Blockstream. Oh no, wait! It's just a bill photo. Oh.
But it's not as cool as a Blockstream medal.
Which is not as cool as the original crypto steel in orange.
Okay, tell me what's the difference between this and that?
Well, this one is blue and it says "Don't Trust Verify" on the front. See?
Okay, but mine, if I can get it out. That's what she said.
That's not safe for work.
Mine has a panda, which is like 100 times cooler. Look.
Yeah, I have the lion one.
No one cares about the lion.
Check mine out. Look at this one.
Cool.
Look at this sucker. Kick ass.
It looks like we all got one of those. And now Blockstream suddenly start making them. Maybe it's not an original product after all.
It's the original vision.
Crypto steel SV.
Exactly.
The real question is are these crypto steel hacked
Hacked?
in some way? Are they backdoored? So if I put my private key in it, will someone be able to read it?
There's a tiny camera that that reads everything that you the letters that you put.
You never know, right?
You never know.
Yeah.
The Winklevoss twins may be aliens, right? According to for like CIA plans. Did you guys see the tweet from?
Yeah. Actually, that reminds me. You guys at Blockstream did quite a funny thing with Halloween. Was it your idea, Samson, to do the?
It was Mario's idea.
Okay, to do the lizard masks. Or
Wait, that's not
maybe
real? I thought that was real.
Those weren't masks.
Okay.
See, this is the mask.
Okay, someone needs to do some CG and have Samson pull off his mask and show the lizard face. When are we releasing the short, Samson?
As soon as I got time.
By the time that this airs, the short should be out.
Yeah.
Because, for obvious reasons, because some people might not be relevant anymore after the 15th of November. So we should push it.
Remember the 15th of November.
I guess you guys will find out.
Ooh.
Or they will be even more relevant than ever before after November 15th.
Or after the 1st of January, when he gets access to the Tulip Trust. Or is it 2020? I forgot.
Who knows?
Are we going to talk about the fork now or later?
Well, some people ask us specifically not to talk about it.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah. Any extra intention?
Nobody really cares.
I think it's fun. The thing is, why is there so much drama when miners should be the ones deciding? So there shouldn't be any drama, right? According to the Bitcoin Cash narrative.
Because of negative gamma. That's the reason.
Fluffy Funny, you're just ruining the joke.
There's no joke.
Gamma rhymes with drama. If you're American.
Yeah, it's the miners that can't agree. So what if you decide? If you say miners decide, then what happens when the miners can't decide?
Whoever has the most hash rate wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you call it hash war. Well, the problem now is that at the moment looks like it will be around 50-50, which will be interesting. And another problem is that by the time this show airs, it will probably already happened. We already know the result. So what we're doing now is purely hypothetical.
Yeah, probably something drastic would have happened. We'll see. It'll be fun.
It's never a dull day.
So I was thinking, if to change survive, can Chihan just dump like 1 million of Bcash Satoshi's vision? Or now,
Yeah.
because he's doing the IPO, he has to be more careful with like how he trades and what he does with his available assets.
Who knows? But also Craig Wright and Calvin Ayre supposedly has like 1 million BCH also. So it's going to be interesting.
Gonna dump on each other. That sounds something like McAfee would like.
Well, I think Jihan can only play with his personal stuff now. He can't use the company resources to muck around because they're under heavy scrutiny from the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So it's a question of how much money and hash rate he's got on his own to play.
Yeah, and another interesting thing is that apparently that was this morning on CoinGeek, and even though CoinGeek is not very reliable, they apparently have 500 million in debt with the chip manufacturer.
Well, I mean, CoinGeek is owned by Calvin Ayre, and
Yeah.
it's probably
Yeah, but
just
someone else confirmed it. Someone else that we all know. So he checked with sources there, and apparently it's true. It's actually even bigger than I'm not gonna say who, not on air. Ask me in DM. Yeah, so apparently Bitmain has like $500 million in debt. So the chip manufacturer is considering not working with them anymore. So it will be interesting to see how that turns out. But at the same time, Bcash is now pumping because of the upcoming fork. So because there can be multiple reasons. Maybe it's because Coinbase and Bitcoin.com and all and Roger Ver, of course, all said that they will support Bitcoin ABC. Or maybe just people want to dump on both chains. Chains that can also be the case. It will be interesting to see how this turns out.
Yep.
So let's talk, because Ricardo seems to be completely busy with other stuff. Let's talk about Monero Bulletproofs and what's next on the roadmap.
Forcing him back.
Yeah, Ezekiel, tell us more about Monero.
Well, hi, I'm Ezekiel, Monero's creator. Yeah, we got Bulletproofs live. That's pretty exciting. So for those that don't know, Bulletproofs is a compact range proof that was created by two really smart guys who aren't part of the Monero research lab. But one of the things that they found it could be applicable to is Monero, because we use range proofs in confidential transactions, which is a way to hide transaction amounts in Monero. And we've had Bulletproofs live on testnet since December 2017. But obviously there's this process that you go through with all cryptographic systems of testing and validation and auditing and that sort of thing. So it's taken some time before there was a level of confidence where it could go live on mainnet. And it went live in the network upgrade last month before? Yeah, last month. And it's pretty exciting because it reduces transaction sizes by like 80-90%, which in turn reduces fees by like 80 or 90%.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of exchanges announce that they reduced their fee, which was quite high before. Yeah,
That'd be pretty scummy not to.
Ricardo, is there any downside to Bulletproofs?
No, it's it's literally like the same security assumptions as we had previously, but more compact and much faster validation as well. Like significantly faster because of the way the validation scales.
So when is it coming on Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin doesn't use confidential transactions, so Bitcoin doesn't have range proofs.
Right.
But I mean, on Liquid, for example, which, as you know, is the premier blockstream product, coming soon to a space station near you. On Liquid, they could add bulletproofs.
Ricardo, you're getting a bonus this year for that speed.
You made one mistake. It's coming on satellites near you, not space stations.
So I'm getting a bonus paid in Liquid BTC, right?
Yeah. That panda distracts me.
Definitely. See, I don't even need to chill anymore when I have you, Ricardo.
Okay, wait, and then someone asked about a roadmap.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
What's next?
the roadmap is whatever people want to add on Monero. I mean, like, there's no control over that.
Okay. Well, I can immediately go to one of the questions that was asked later because it's connects a bit. And when and how will Monero implement Lightning? Or are there people already working on the Lightning implementation for Monero? How is that coming along compared to Bitcoin and Litecoin?
Good question. So there are people that are working on it currently. Lightning's just one of the scaling technologies that the Monero community is interested in. I'm particularly fond of Lightning because there's already a live Lightning network that we can plug into. So it's not like we're having to like build this second layer out just like on our own. There's a bunch of people from Tari Labs who are working on Rust Lightning with Matt Corallo. And we're hoping that as Rust Lightning becomes more mature, that we'll be able to also add Monero support for it. But the first step is getting Rust Lightning to a level of maturity where Matt and everyone involved is comfortable with it working well, and then we can go and add Monero support.
So Monero actually has all the primitives you need to do Lightning, right? You have lock times and everything.
We've got multisig, we've got lock times. We're pretty confident that we have all the primitives. I did chat to the Lightning Labs team about it a little while back, and it's basically like, I think the one thing that we're missing is payment channels. But I think that's a relatively simple thing to add because it's not a consensus critical component. It doesn't affect consensus whether you have payment channels or not. So, we'll build up support for payment channels and see how we go.
How come you're talking to Lightning Labs and not C Lightning?
That's an excellent question. I guess it's because I'm a very bad Blockstream shill. I guess that bonus is no longer getting paid.
No.
I must say, one thing I will say that I have done is I've looked at C Lightning's code base and watched a couple of. There was a talk that someone gave recently at a conference. Can't remember where. And C Lightning's architecture looks really interesting, especially in terms of maintainability and modularity. So, like, I've been very impressed with that. Unfortunately, it's written in C, and the Tari Labs guys are working in Rust. But if C Lightning were written in Rust instead, then,
Then it wouldn't be called C Lightning.
Yeah, it'd be called Rust Lightning.
True, that it would be called Rust Lightning, which already exists.
That'd be weird.
Yeah.
It would be called Blockstream Lightning.
Liquid Lightning.
Liquid Lightning. Nice.
Well, the thing is, we can actually have Lightning running on Liquid eventually.
Oh dear, here we go.
Then you have Liquid Lightning Bitcoin.
Exactly.
What can Liquid not do?
It can't do ice.
When is Liquid going to compete with EOS?
Well, did you see the news? EOS is not actually a blockchain.
Oops.
It's a database. Says Ethereum.
Well, something to do with the validation of transactions.
The Ethereum Foundation, sorry, not the Ethereum Foundation, Consensus, which is basically the Ethereum Foundation, paid someone to say that EOS isn't a blockchain because it's not immutable, which is ironic coming from Ethereum.
But you have different layers of immutability, of course.
Of course, consensus is actually, all community driven and not technological.
No, consensus is fluid. Like genders can be fluid, consensus can be fluid.
I think at the end of the day, we'll discover that the consensus was inside of us all along.
That's actually from a Craig Wright talk. The power is within. That's one of his slides.
Oh dear.
How do you know that?
Because it was it was the economy.
Wow, the secret is revealed.
I looked in the room, I saw that slide.
Okay, quite a coincidence. Okay, so we've been getting more criticism and more infighting, and some people are saying that Bitcoin maximalism is turning worse, turning bad, because a lot of people are starting to feel attacked, and it's not a safe space anymore. They get criticized immediately, and of course it's all the
They're toxic.
all those Bitcoin maximalists are toxic. Actually, I think Vitalik even tweeted yesterday, so about 2 weeks ago. So first, talk about it. How do you guys experience that? Because you're not, well, you're kind of Bitcoin maximalists, but you kind of not, because you have your own projects. And I know that Ricardo engages a lot with people like Mr. Hodl and stuff like that. So how do you experience that?
I was saying Ezekiel was really hurt this past week from all the Bitcoin maximalists hating on him for supporting Monero. So why don't you first start talking about how hurt you were?
Well, as the creator of Monero, Ezekiel, was very hurt. No, in all seriousness, I'm a firm believer in Bitcoin and Bitcoin success and Bitcoin's future success. I think that there's too much brain power, research, adoption, and money that has been poured into Bitcoin for it to fail. I truly believe that. I think that, obviously there's always a chance, but I think that the chances of Bitcoin failing are, at this point, infinitesimally small. I think the chances of every other altcoin failing are higher. And I think that that's a pretty rational belief. At the same time, I also don't believe in a world where every single human on the planet is going to wake up and go, you know what I need in my life? Sound money. You know what's sound money? Bitcoin. You know why? Because of these reasons that Bitcoin maximalists have shoved down our throat. And they're all going to universally adopt the single currency. It's like the entire world waking up and saying, you know what sucks? Human government. You know what we're going to do? We're going to have a new form of government that doesn't involve humans. It's like, yeah, sure, that might happen, but the chances are it's not going to happen, because we're dumb and we're human and we're imperfect, and we're always going to find a way of destroying something that is good. So humans are not going to globally adopt Bitcoin and go, this is sound money. Humans are always going to be pushed around by the charlatans and the snake oil salesmen of the world. And then by people who have genuinely good interests or good desires. And you can't stop that from happening. So what you can do is you can promote Bitcoin as being sound money, no problem. But then you can also accept that there are going to be other projects along the way that might also survive. And instead of going like, well, that's a terrible future and everyone sucks, just accept it and let's, see what happens.
Okay, let me take this one. So what you just said, Ezekiel, any other altcoin project could say the exact same thing. That is, I think, the problem, right? And even the scammy ones, they could take your argument word for word and say it with the same emphasis and emotional passion. And that's the problem, I think. That if you just say every project can exist and it should exist, and then everything can exist.
So
and
it's not about
scams.
So firstly, no one's going to stop them from existing. Okay, and I am more than happy with Bitcoin maximalists pointing out technical failures, fundamental failures. No problem with that whatsoever. You can be aggressive and point out that OneCoin is a scam. You could be aggressive and point out that the Zcash trusted setup is not ideal. You can point out all of these things, not an issue whatsoever. But the issue is this constant drumbeat of Bitcoin is the only thing that's going to survive and everything else has to fail. That is not a view that I can adopt.
It's not only that, right? It's not just everything else has to fail. Everything else is a scam because it's destined to fail, right? And because you're working on Monero and not Bitcoin, you're a scammer. And that's just ridiculous, right?
I mean, like, that's really the point, right? It's not a worldview that I can adopt. It doesn't make logical sense to me to say, and maybe it's the software developer in me, but my experience with open source projects has always been that by and large the main project is the one that survives, but that doesn't prevent a fork from being dominant, as is the case with like Ubuntu being bigger than Debian. It also doesn't prevent a fork from existing like side by side, as is the case with things like NanoMessage and ZeroMQ. I mean, there are projects that are going to exist just purely as forks. Forget about projects that exist as fresh code bases with the same idea. And I mean, that's just purely from a software engineering perspective. And I don't believe the fact that this is money changes that dynamic at all.
What do you think, Will Panda?
I actually agree with Ricardo. So I've always said that at least a couple of other projects will survive long term and will have value. But of course, I want most of it to be Bitcoin, because most money in Bitcoin, because I have mostly Bitcoin, and that's also how it works for most Bitcoiners. They're heavily invested in it, so they want that to succeed, which is fine. But I see no problem or no reason why they all go full out on Ricardo or Charlie. Like Tone is very aggressive towards everything's a scam, obviously. And actually, I have the tweet that I wanted to say. So Tone tweeted an article about Vitalik, because Vitalik said he wanted to take a step back. Because his creation can't succeed with him in the spotlight, because single point of failure. So Tone tweeted about that he's pulling a alarmer, which we all know why. So Vitalik said Vitalik is in charge. It is centralized. Vitalik is not in charge. It is pulling a Dan Latimer. That's why BTC maximalists have zero credibility. That's quite aggressive from him. And I don't agree with that either. I think Bitcoin maximalism makes perfect sense, because you want Bitcoin to be the dominant one. You want Bitcoin to be everywhere and have the highest value. And I guess from my perspective, I think it will always have that. But you always have like altcoins. And especially because you also can make a lot of money with altcoins. And with pump and dumps, there's so much money in that to be made, or so much more Bitcoin to be made. That's why I trade those shitcoins, just to make more BTC. So
okay, so then maybe the issue's with the term, because in my mind, a Bitcoin maximalist is someone like me. They believe that Bitcoin is going to be the maximal currency, the dominant one. But dominance can be 60% of the market. Dominance doesn't need to be 100% of the market. And I think that's how I think of it in terms of maximalism. And I think that the people that are problematic are Bitcoin monoists.
Totalitarians.
Yeah, they're like Bitcoin it's 100% Bitcoin. Everything else is definitely going to fail, and it's a scam. So therefore, and I think that you like it's just that is a view that is just too much. It doesn't take into account anything.
Mono crypto theist.
Yeah, exactly. Bitcoin
Mono crypto theist.
But people are now also using like Bitcoin maximalism to like insult. Well, it started out as an insult from Vitalik, but it's like, it's a way. It's like a derogatory term. Like they're all toxic. They're all like clueless idiots who don't know what they're talking about, basically, because they're too focused. Because it's like a religion. That was what I was looking for. A lot of people are now saying like Bitcoin maximalism is a religion, and now you can talk, Samson. Now you can talk.
Now it's your
talk.
turn.
Quiet, puppet. So, I think it's easier to separate the projects with no substance from the projects with substance, because if you just say everything should be able to live because of its own merits as a project, regardless of what it's trying to do or how they're marketing themselves or presenting themselves, then it's much harder to separate and argue kind of against the Bitcoin maximalist thesis, right? But if you have a legitimate project and it's not scammy, and I remember at Consensus we had a discussion about what's a scam, and everything's a scam, right? But I don't think Litecoin and Monero are scams. They're real projects with the real technology. And I think there are things like Bitcoin Cash that are just purely a scam. It's all marketing. The whole thesis of the project is it's closer to somebody's interpretation of a few words. So it's probably better to position yourself as something with a purpose than just to say everything should exist.
What's your view, Charlie? You haven't said much yet today. Seems like you're sleeping.
It's late.
I actually came back from Vegas just a few hours ago.
Okay, you came back from Vegas. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I think there should only be two coins, Bitcoin and Litecoin, and that's it. Maybe Monero. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Monero.
So you came back from Vegas. You went to World CryptoCon.
Yeah, it's a huge con.
Yeah, apparently I heard some quite negative feedback from it. Like people paying
Really?
25K for a booth and then seeing maybe like 500 people in the exhibition area, so they feel quite scammed.
The thing is, I think they were expecting like 5,000 people, and were only able to sell tickets for like 2,000 or 2,500, something like that. I mean, it is a bear market, so they have a hard time selling tickets. They also have a huge conference area, like it's 3-4 floors, and just things are scattered everywhere. So it's a huge space with not many people, with only 2,000 people. So that's why I felt like if you have a booth, there might not be a lot of people walking around. I feel bad for some of the talks, because like the main speaking area is kind of a little bit like far away from everything else, and you actually have to like go out of your way to go there. And most people are just hanging around the booths and other areas, so not a lot of people were actually listening to the talks.
I will definitely not go there for next year then. Not that I was planning to.
Depending on the price, right? If we go on a bull run, all these conferences will be packed.
It was like $2,000, I think, for a ticket. I don't know how many days it was. 2 or 3.
Yeah, 3 days.
Yeah. Still quite expensive. Also, Consensus announced for next year, May 13 until 16, I think. We're still planning to do our conference. We actually have a call this week about the venue. Let's see how that turns out, because that's our biggest issue. I mean, we're famous. We can get all the speakers, we can get all the sponsors, but we're important people. But the venue...
We get Blockstream Liquid to just sponsor everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And as long as the four of us are speaking, who needs other speakers, right? People would just come to watch us.
We'll have the four of us speaking, then a panel, then the four of us speaking in the afternoon, then a panel.
But we're also on the panel, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like 10 hours of magical crypto friends.
Can we not just like show all the shows like in a row, like all the episodes?
That's in the second room, the
yes,
B room.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but the problem is we don't have a location.
Right. So we want to do it in New York, and we are looking for a venue, and we want to for 2 days around the same time as Consensus. But the main issue is we want to keep it affordable, because we don't want to be scammers who ask a couple of $1,000s for tickets. We want to include real developers or people who might be interested in crypto, but don't want to spend 2,000 on a ticket.
But we'll find
So
out what
the-
happens in the call coming up, because
Yeah.
our conference expert, who is not a magical crypto friend, is going to come up with a list of venues.
So it's really going to happen.
It's happening. It's happening.
It's happening.gif.
Okay, so moving on. Last week, Wasabi Wallet released their first like official version, like 1.0, I think. So the interesting thing about Wasabi Wallet is that it's a light wallet with some interesting privacy features like coin join. Have you guys tried it yet? I installed it. I haven't tried it yet. So it also already did like the biggest coin join, I think 100 people or 100 inputs on Bitcoin. So how do you guys see this? Is this like a breakthrough for Bitcoin? Can this now be comparable to Monero's ring signatures when it comes to privacy?
I haven't played with it, but then like all good Bitcoiners, I don't use Bitcoin. I just use credit cards.
Jimmy Song would be so proud of you.
You're going to get so much flack for that.
No, I haven't played with it, but I've been following development, and I think it's much needed. We organized a workshop in London to talk about privacy for wallets, and one of the results from that was P2EP, pay to endpoint. I think Wasabi's one, and there will be more wallets that will add these kind of privacy coin join features.
On this topic, what is your take on what Greg said about Samurai Wallet?
I think the criticism about Samurai was that they're advertising these privacy features that are not fully baked yet, I think. And one of them was like run your own node, but it doesn't really function. I haven't read the whole criticism yet. I just saw it flare up on Twitter. But I don't know. I think it's more of how they market the feature and talk about the feature than problems with the software itself, right? If you say it does X and it does X, that's fine. If you say it does X and Y when it only does X, then that's where the problem lies.
Okay, but Samurai Wallet markets itself as an alpha product that isn't ready for normal use. So
Right, so they were pretty clear about it, and every time it came up before, and they specifically said, yes, it doesn't work yet, but we're working on improving that feature, or we're waiting for something to be implemented, but we're implementing other features that are privacy focused. So I don't know, it was a lot of drama, and it seems to be rehashed. It came up like again 2 days later. I know the guys from Samurai Wallet, and I know that they would not like. So the problem was that they market themselves as privacy, but there are still some issues. But as long as it's an alpha product, I don't see the issue.
yeah. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, privacy on Bitcoin is not a privacy in general is not a state that you achieve. You don't go like, cool, now we are private and that is it. We can tick the boxes. Here's the comparison chart against other cryptocurrencies. Privacy is this constant ongoing thing. It's a game of cat and mouse. You come up with this really cool privacy stuff. Researchers say, no, it's broken. You improve on it. Researchers say, here's another thing. And you just constantly have to go through that improvement. And I think that one of the big issues here is that we're so early in the Bitcoin privacy game that we've got like a couple of experiments: Join Market, Samurai, Wasabi, and those are really the big ones. And none of them are particularly dominant. None of them have a particularly large privacy set, and none of them are default private for Bitcoin users in general. So all of them should be just viewed as an experiment and not actually privacy enhancing at this juncture. I think that it needs to be something that eventually gets baked in and into all the wallets. And it's like, maybe it's not consensus that you do it, but like your transaction sticks out like a sore thumb if you don't.
Yeah, I agree with Fluffy Pony. I think privacy is a spectrum,
Ezekiel.
and I think, sorry, Ezekiel. But it is a spectrum, and I remember there's a critique about Monero too, saying Monero's not private because you buy it from an exchange. But I mean, there's ways to get around that. But it is like an ongoing thing, and I agree. There's no point to be arguing about all this stuff right now. The criticisms probably could have been made better, like made privately or whatever. But I think I don't think there's any reason to go to war and throw stuff at each other.
Okay, but there's another potential issue. So let's say I do the coin join, and then I send my Bitcoin to, for example, Coinbase to cash out some. They usually track like 5 hops back. And if they see that it's like a mixing tool was used, they might say like, oh, there might be something fishy going on. And it's not just that, because I read last year, I read an article about in Netherlands that they assume if you use a mixer, they assume that it's like something wrong with them, like something used for something illegal, like drugs or something. So already using that is like a red flag for them, which creates another issue, obviously.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Like, mixing is not the issue. The issue is perception of mixing. So
Right.
That's got to change eventually. It's just like some exchanges will delist you if you're a privacy coin. That's bad too, right? There's a long battle ahead to improve upon fungibility, and I think that's definitely something that has to be addressed. And there's either two possibilities. One is that the exchanges and centralized services change their outlook, and the other is that mixing is more default or more widespread, and it's just accepted.
I think what's going to be interesting is we might end up in a world where you basically have a black and a white pool of outputs, where outputs are tainted if within 5 hops you were using some sort of privacy technology, and some exchanges in certain jurisdictions might have no problem using privacy technology both on the receiving end and on the sending end. But then, like, you can't withdraw from this exchange that uses CoinJoin for all its withdrawals to Coinbase, which has these checks to see if you're using privacy enhancements, and so you end up with these 2 pools of outputs, and then like going from one pool of outputs to the other becomes a whole mission until such time as there's a general broad acceptance of privacy as being a basic human right, which I'm hopeful we'll get to sooner rather than later.
Depends when you become president of the world.
When everyone adopts sound money.
What you're saying, Ezekiel, is really bad for fungibility, right? If there's a set of outputs that are like private, a set of outputs that are more transparent, and you have to pick and choose which one you use. Yeah. That's horrible. And I think that's why that's why I like Monero, where everything is private by default, right? So it's not opt-in, so you can't choose to be private or not. And I think that's why Monero is kind of, in my mind, better to test this when compared to like Zcash or other so-called privacy coins, when they're just opt-in. And when you opt into privacy, then the exchanges will think that you're doing something shady, and that's just as bad as actually doing something shady. So,
yeah, I think. Look, I mean, I'm of the opinion that Monero has the potential to test the bounds of what exchanges will accept and what they're happy to deal with, and what they find acceptable from a regulatory perspective, and over time with things like Monero's view key, where an exchange could, for example, say you can withdraw, but you have to give us your view key so that you can prove ownership of the address you're withdrawing to, something like that. It would be interesting to see whether Monero can overcome the regulatory burden, because I think that would set a good path and a good pattern for Bitcoin.
So Fluffy Pony is trying to work with regulators.
No, I'm just saying that regulators have a desire to work with Monero, the software, not Monero, the entity because that doesn't exist. There's no Monero electric bicycle company or whatever.
How about the Monero Enterprise Alliance?
Yeah, the Monero Enterprise Alliance LLC, a Delaware LLC. But there's none of that. So, but regulators certainly find Monero interesting, some of them. And, I think like that might result in some effort coming from them.
So,
But one thing that... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
One thing that Charlie could do is push the envelope. Implement CT in Litecoin.
By default.
Well, it won't be by default. It will be opt-in. Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, that's something that I would consider doing. I think fungibility is one of the properties of sound money that's missing from Bitcoin and Litecoin. So I definitely want to kind of help with that. But we'll see. Like when CT is ready.
CT be by default?
I guess it could, but it would be. I think it would be hard to convince everyone, convince the community to agree to that upgrade where everything becomes CT, right? So if it's just opt-in, then it'll be easier to convince people that it's a good upgrade.
Then it's basically Zcash.
Yeah, you can't do opt-in.
Without founders rewards.
You'd have to. Look, it would be a hard fork anyway, right? Because CT wouldn't be backwards compatible.
No, it'll be a soft fork.
Yeah, it's soft forkable.
Okay.
This is why I think I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, but I also see some value in other projects that are not scammy. So in the future, you could do atomic swaps between Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Monero, and that will also improve fungibility.
No. You want Litecoin to try it and then see if it gets listed everywhere. And if it gets listed everywhere, you say, no, okay, let's not do it for Bitcoin.
No, I think Bitcoin should do it too. I think everyone's got to be private eventually for anything to be meaningful, any of this to be meaningful.
I've been saying fungibility is the only properties of sound money that is missing from Bitcoin and Litecoin. Right now, it really sucks when you're sending coins and you have to decide which output to use. It's just it's stupid, right? You bought 10 Bitcoins on an exchange and you don't want to send that output to someone because you don't want them to know you have 10 Bitcoins, right? That's not good money. So I think something like CT or some other kinds of improvement to fungibility is really needed. Question is, how do we get there?
I think you just got to roll it out, test it.
Yeah, I think the community is pretty interested in doing something like CT. So we'll see where that goes. I've talked to Greg about it. I think CT is not quite yet ready for prime time. So maybe a few more months, maybe next year. We'll see.
I think it's ready. It's ready on Liquid.
But Liquid's not a real coin.
It's not a coin. It's a side chain.
Liquid's a database. It's not a blockchain. Damn it. I just ruined my chance of getting a bonus this year.
So talking about fungibility, congratulations, Ricardo, on finally being on Trezor. I saw the news yesterday.
Thank you.
And you apparently did the merge. You actually did some work.
I do like most of the merges on the Monero core code base. So, but I mean, it's literally just click button, type in, get merge.
Did you say Ricardo is on Trezor? What does that mean?
Monero.
Ricardo merged the code. Sorry, Ezekiel merged the code. I keep forgetting.
I thought you have a power glove or something that you merge the code with.
I do, yeah.
Ricardo, are you the only one that has the ability to merge from Monero?
Ooh, are we talking about the centralization of Monero now?
No, so Vitalik also has commit access. So does Ezekiel. So we're very decentralized. No, there are multiple maintainers. So there's multiple projects as well. So you've got the Monero core project, which has all the libraries and the command line apps. Then you've got the Monero GUI. Then you've got the Monero website. Then you've got the Monero research lab and so on. And I am the lead maintainer on one of those projects only. I used to be the lead maintainer on all of them, but it was obviously a centralizing force and not so great. And so I handed those duties over long ago to other people in the community. And so now the only thing I am is lead maintainer on the core project. And even there, like if I'm not available and there's stuff that needs to urgently be merged, there are other maintainers.
Who maintains the malware?
So that's the that's maintained directly by the botnet authors themselves.
So you control Monero core. That's what you're trying to say.
That is one way to view it.
Next up, 10 years Bitcoin white paper.
Yeah, I wrote an article about that for CoinDesk.
I didn't read it. Was it interesting?
I didn't read it either.
It was the best article of the series.
I didn't read any article on CoinDesk recently. No, actually, I did. The one about the signatures on the Tether banknote. That was pretty fun.
Was there an article about the signatures on the Tether banknote?
Yeah, because it was. I don't know if you saw the letter from the bank, Deltec Bank on Bahamas. It was, the signature was like just like a strange scribble that my 2.5-year-old can also do.
It reminds me of the meme someone created by putting the Bitcoin roller coaster guy on the signature.
Yeah.
Because the signature is like in a quick drop, right? So the roller coaster is like approaching that drop off.
No, so they ask lawyers if it's like really like a valid proof of reserves of So 10 years Bitcoin white paper. Did you guys do anything to celebrate it? No, for me personally, the anniversary of Bitcoin is on the 3rd of January when the Genesis block was mined.
Yeah.
So this is like a nice date like to remember, but the real birthday is when it was actually conceived.
Yeah, my wife and I went out for a nice dinner and we read the paper out loud to each other. We didn't do that. I'm kidding.
So I celebrated by writing the article for CoinDesk. But I agree with Whale Panda. I don't think it's really the birthday. I think it's more like the baby shower announcement, because that's when he kind of said, hey guys, come look at this thing. It's happening. The real birthday is probably the Genesis block.
Satoshi was like, it's happening!
Yeah, it's happening again. And I don't think the white paper is the conception either. That he started writing the code 1.5 years before. And he's been talking to other people like Adam Back about the project, and that's probably the conception, probably 1.5 years before the white paper.
It's true. I celebrated by going to the World CryptoCon Halloween party dressed up as a Litecoin. You guys see videos of that?
No.
Yeah, I saw that. You acted out your wildest dreams.
I did.
You should have been like as a father of Litecoin.
I beat up the Bitcoin mascot. Actually, it was pretty funny because I was in the Litecoin costume for like an hour, and people were taking pictures with me, or with the Litecoin, and not knowing I was in there. And they're like, it's really weird being in like a mascot costume because you're kind of incognito. No one knows like who you are, and people treat you like an inanimate object. They're like, come over here and like grab me over and take a picture of them. It was a pretty fun experience. You guys should try it.
It's fun to get grabbed and treated like an inanimate object.
Exactly.
I'll pass.
Fluffy Pony should be in the Monero mascot.
I should dress up as a Monero.
Yep.
But you wouldn't see me if I was dressed up as a Monero.
That makes you more private.
Well, you could go fancy. Put on the costume and then put on some of those active camo light bending things around it.
Yeah, problem solved.
Yeah.
Anyway, for our conference, we all have to be dressed up as our own characters, obviously. So, Ricardo, good luck with the horse. The panda will be very...
Another character, right? Just to confuse people.
Oh, yeah.
I'll dress up as a whale.
One more topic was decentralized exchanges. IDEX banned people with New York IP because obviously decentralized exchanges ban people from certain areas. So I think that just highlights how most exchanges that claim to be decentralized are not completely not decentralized at all. If they can force things like that on the users.
Well, they're not really decentralized, right? They just don't hold the private keys. That's all. And
Isn't IDEX supposed to be completely decentralized?
They claimed it to be, but obviously they aren't.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. No decentralized service can ban users in particular jurisdictions. That just makes it apparent that it's a steaming pile of whatever. No offense.
But BISC is actually interesting, and a lot of people are using it now, especially for Monero. I saw that's like a significant amount of the total volume for Monero.
It's huge. But it's a dedicated app that you download. It's not you can't go into a website and expect the website to be decentralized. It's like, I mean, there's certainly research into serving stuff in a decentralized way, but it's not there yet.
Yep.
That's like smart contracts that let the owner of the smart contract upgrade it. It's centralized. The owner can upgrade it. It's therefore.
Yeah, but nobody knows what a smart contract really is.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do one more question, which can be quite interesting. How do you guys expect Bitcoin to act in an upcoming global recession? Like,
that's a good question.
Yeah, because
the
I
price,
don't expect.
or what are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess the price and the adoption. I don't think it will have that much effect on it unless you start with bank bailouts and stuff like that. Then you might see like a rush towards safe haven as Bitcoin, but like a global recession by itself, I don't think it will have that much influence on Bitcoin.
Recessions are not really big. I mean, if it's a depression, then something will happen. But just a recession is nothing. Maybe his question is really about a depression.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it depends on how the media spins it. You know, like a lot of people actually go out and buy Bitcoin because the media thinks that other people will buy Bitcoin or the price will do well. So if the media actually spins into like, because of this situation, the Bitcoin price will do well, people actually go out and buy Bitcoin.
I'm not actually sure what would happen in a depression because Bitcoin is not widely recognized yet. So it might not have too much of an effect on it, right? You can't go out and use it to buy food unless suddenly everybody's interested in Bitcoin somehow for some reason, and you can use it for barter and trade.
Right, but I guess it also depends on how strong the dollar would be in a depression. Of course, when you have like hyperinflation and stuff like that, then Bitcoin becomes interesting. But otherwise, I don't see it's like having a huge impact on the price, positive impact on the price.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming he's talking about the US.
Yeah.
Americans always assume that they're talking about the US.
There is only the US, right?
So Will Panda will ship food to Charlie.
Will Panda is actually in the US. He doesn't even know it.
Right. We have a joke about that. Like we have a big city here close by. So you have the big city and all the rest around it is just parking lot for the big city.
Yeah. Samson lives in the US's hat, right?
Yeah. Northern US.
Northern US.
Yeah.
Samson lives in this hat.
All right. See you guys next time.
Bye.
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 Magical crypto. Magical crypto. Magical crypto will always be the best of the best.
Oh, I'm just watching Charlie now. It's actually quite funny.
You guys should watch it.
Yeah, it's good. And who was actually in the Bitcoin one?
It's a guy who created the costumes. It's actually Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah, that's what...
Somebody tagged me and says that I was in the costume.
It's Roger Ver.